Hey, I'm Juan Martinez, and I am a father of two graduates from the Rise Discipleship Home. My family life before the home started was chaotic. Now, as funny as it sounds, I personally was addicted to stuff, and at some point, I didn't really understand what my mom was going through until I became the parent of a few of my kids addicted to drugs, and then it was chaotic, restless nights, just moments where it was really difficult, and you just are gasping for air because you don't know if that next morning your kid's gonna be alive. You're kind of praying that my mom used to always say, when used to get incarcerated, she would say, "Oh, it's so good that you got incarcerated," and I never really understood that. I'm like, "Why are you so happy that I went to jail?" And she would say, "Because I know you're alive." And so then becoming the parent, at some point I called my mom and apologized, but becoming the parent, you just don't know if that night is going to be the last night and if you'll never hear from them again. And, for me, I'm a pastor. So, but, just because I'm a pastor doesn't mean that I don't go through feelings, emotions. There were pockets where my faith was strong, and I was choosing to think about things that are good, honorable, and pure, and pray for my child. And then I would have moments where I would be like, God, why? Like, how on earth do you want me to pastor people and help them navigate through life, and yet I don't feel like I have the answers in my own life as a dad going through, I'm praying, I'm fasting. I would say sometimes a little bit unstable, and then I would remember that a man who's unstable in all his ways expect not receive anything from God. So I would do my best. I started putting myself around community and stuff so that when I was weak, they kind of made me strong together. So that's why I think life groups are really important. Just a side note, but um, it's what kept me strong. But I would feel at moments where I was getting swallowed up, and maybe I was before I saw that I got spit out of the mouth of the whale. I felt like I was inside a whale and I could see nothing, and I would just have to, at that season I was just trying to trust God and not lean on what I understood. When we dropped off our sons, whoo, well, my sons went to the Rise Discipleship Home twice. So the first time, um, excited, kind of like my mom when she was like, "Hey, I know that you're alive now." So, uh, s- maybe more on the exciting side of like, "All right, they're gonna get help, and I know where they're at." So this comfort and peace of knowing where they're at. Um, you know, First 3 months of somebody going through it, which is interesting because I know it from the parent side and from the other side. But from the parent side, you're getting all these calls of desperation of like, I want to come home. And it happened every time because it happened with both of them, and they didn't know they were saying exactly the same thing. They were saying exactly the same thing. Desperate. I want to come home. I'm good now, and it's been like 2, 3 weeks. Maybe first month. Second month. They don't really get normalized until like the 90 days, I would say. And I think the hardest part was really wanting them to be home and having them back, but at the same time making those decisions that were really difficult, but they needed to be there because I knew enough, I guess, because of my own personal life. Like, there's no way you changed in 30 days, 2 weeks. But as a parent, if you don't know that and you don't come from that, you think, sometimes kids say the right things to parents, and we're like, because we love them so much, we want what's best for them. So that's to me was harder. Is those first 90 days were harder than dropping them off. Dropping them off, I was excited because I knew it was the right thing. First 90 days, really difficult. The second time, I sent one of my sons one time. It was a Thanksgiving weekend, right before Thanksgiving, and oh man, my wife's like, "It's Thanksgiving," and I just had to explain that I didn't want my son to die, because on the holidays, everybody goes out and parties. So I winded up making him leave. That one was hard. I made him leave. I didn't even want to drop him off. I made him leave. I put him on a Greyhound and sent him, because I was a little frustrated. I was also like, you need to go now. And that one was really hard too. So I think they're all hard in their own ways, but making sure that my son went somewhere, because like I said, in the first 90 days, there's these things. There's the 90 days, and there's the, 5th, 6th month, and then there's the 8th month. It just depends how long they go. There's these seasons and phases of a roller coaster of emotions from a parent's side, and then you get excited, and if they say they're going to leave, you got to think, every time somebody's going through something that is the opposite of what their addiction wants them to, they're going to talk like everything's bad. But the reality is that they're really dealing with their own selves. And as a parent, whether you're dropping them off, picking them up, that roller coaster of emotions is the same thing they go through in those seasons is what you go through as a parent on the opposite end. Now, this is funny because now we pastor a church, we're helping people out of addiction all the time. This is where it gets tricky, because you're helping all these people, and all these people, not only are they getting saved, there's some that you're discipling that, came off of drugs. They came, right? Sometimes I don't know why God does this, but I just couldn't do it with my own kids. I don't know if they're familiar or they're like, so when I sent them to Rise, which by the way, at that time, Pastor Ray and I had known each other pretty well, and I'd seen what God had done in his life. And they gave them Jesus. They taught them how to walk under authority, and all of these principles that I try to teach them as a dad. I try to teach them as a pastor, that maybe the people that weren't my kids got it, but then my own personal kids, they weren't getting it. And the home taught them that. The home taught them that, walking this walk, even if it's difficult, will give you a great outcome in return. Incredible. Today, both my sons, they're doing great. They're actually both clean. One of them's married. Is actually the youth pastor, and the other one's in Dallas, and they're just doing great. And yeah, man, it's now some of the things they learned, it's funny because what I was trying to teach them that they didn't want to learn, when they went there and they learned it, now that we talk, I could see that all of it culminated together, because all things work together, has made them who they are. And I see them, I was just talking to my son this morning, there's, before, your sons ignore you, they don't answer the text, because they're up to no good. And I guess the best feeling in the world is just being reconnected with my kids and making sure that we always talk, and just having that, it's funny, but having a relationship, not just the title of dad and son, but an actual relationship where we connect and talk all the time. And I think we're planning on going to dinner in a couple of days. So it's kind of stuff like that before was so, will this ever happen? And now we're a family. I heard this story once where the guy was needing help, and I'm just gonna maybe jack the story up, but you'll get the point. This guy needs help, and they send the helicopter, the boat, and all that. And the guy winds up dying, and he winds up getting to heaven, and he's like, "Why didn't you help me?" He said, "I did. I sent you the helicopter, the boat. I sent you all the stuff." Maybe you've heard that story before, and maybe you're listening to this story now, and maybe something you heard me say is resonating in your spirit, man, right now. And this is the helicopter, the boat. This is not just a sign. This is a person who not only was addicted to drugs for 23 years and had his mom going crazy, who would later have kids who wound up in the same boat, who would help me understand what I did to my mom and apologize to my mom, and go through is God in this? Where is God? Make sure, you get them to a place like the Rise Discipleship Home where they can learn about Jesus and actually walk some of these things out. And I know you're going to get calls and they're going to say it's difficult and all that, but what is it in life? And I believe that it's the place, kind of like a boot camp, that kind of makes the guy realize that all he needed the whole time was Jesus Christ. And I would say to you, in this time, maybe it's time for us to stop being codependent and really depend on the one who could save not just your kids, but you.
If this story resonated with you, if you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, alcoholism, or bondage of any kind, please know there is hope. You're not alone. Our intake number is listed in the description below. Don't hesitate to reach out. Freedom is just one phone call away. And if you'd like to be a part of our transforming lives, just like this one you saw today, there's also a link to give. A recurring gift of just $50 a month helps us continue offering a safe place for healing, discipleship, and restoration. Thank you for partnering with us to bring hope to the hopeless and light to the darkness. Have a blessed day.